Welcome to the exciting rebirth of Superstar, featuring choose your membership rate as low as just $3 a month. At Superstar, you get expanded, exclusive video scopes each and every week, unlimited access to special horoscopes, class passes for Synchronicity University, consultations with me, and so much more. All of this in the Superstar space. I look forward to meeting you there. Hello, fabulous friends, fans, and superstars. Welcome to your horoscope for the year of 2021. I am your astrologer, Nadia Shah. Thank you for being here. What a remarkable astrological year it is, without a doubt. It is going to be this year that in many ways we're going to be integrating, making sense of, and implementing the powerful energies that did show up for us in 2020. 2020 started with very intense energy, ended on a very hopeful note with the Great Conjunction. It is now that we start to apply it, make sense of it, and do the work that change requires. Yes, there may be a whole lot of work, there may be tension, there may be uncertainty, there may even be a determination to change circumstances and world circumstances for the better that may be especially notable. And yet it is going to be the work that we do now that will pay off in really big ways once we navigate later into this decade. Now, stay tuned to the very end for special horoscopes, and that is the preview horoscopes for each and every sign. If you want to see the complete video, you can access all the special horoscopes in the Superstar space at nadiashawsuperstars.com, or you can download individual videos at nadiashah.com. And also, let me say, I've been talking about some of the energy I'm going to be talking about now, and I will link to it in the description below. The decade ahead horoscope that I recorded like back in 2019, the Jupiter specials, the Saturn specials, all of that you can watch on YouTube. And again, I will link to it in the description below. But for this year, and just before we began this year, we had a very hopeful omen transpire in the sky. Once every 20 years, Jupiter and Saturn meet in the sky. And historically, this has been thought to represent a turning point for humanity. It is now that these two planets have met in the sign of Aquarius. And with this comes a spirit of change, a spirit of, even I would say, a revolutionary energy, but also a very hopeful one as well, where it is that we may be looked at, judged by, considered through the quality of our thoughts and our ideas and our minds, where it is that we hope to think of things in new ways as ways of changing our life and the lives of those around us. It is this energy that serves as one of the most positive omens for new ideas, new understandings, for our relationships to each other, but also the way in which we exercise and express our own individual strengths and power. Now, the first Saturn-Uranus square is going to take place on February 17, and it happens at 7 degrees. So Uranus and Saturn are both at 7 degrees of their respective signs. So for anybody out there who was born in the last 5 days of any given month, you're going to feel this energy more than others, but everybody out there is going to be feeling this energy of tension. But here's the thing, Lilith isn't too far away from Uranus, Mars isn't too far away from Uranus, and the moon is going to exactly conjunct Uranus at this time. And what this suggests with Lilith in particular, now Lilith has a few layers of understanding. Mythologically, we see her as a woman who is very independent, who refuses to lie under Adam. That is part of her folklore. But beyond that, in the modern context especially, she has become a symbol of female power, of feminist power. And I do think that this is where we may see some focus on and some conversation around what is happening with either women around the globe or culturally, And where it is that women are hoping for advancements or equality, this is where we may see some of that either discussion or that need come forward. But this can also represent real breakthroughs in that regard. Where it is that we may want to see all of us be able to own our own agency, our right to do things more independently, to empower ourselves, and to own our own power, including sexual power. I mean, I think we may see this play out in examples that we see culturally, yes, but individually as well. Now, the second happens on June 14th, and this is at 13 degrees of their respective signs. But here's the thing, simultaneously, Ceres is right there with Uranus. Now, Ceres is named after the Roman goddess Ceres. In Greek mythology, she's called Demetra, and she is the goddess of the harvest, having to do with the seasons. Yes, she very famously had her daughter Persephone go to the underworld with Pluto or Hades. And it was at that time that she started to mourn the loss of her daughter, and the earth started to grow cold and dry up because she's the goddess of the harvest. The earth stopped harvesting because she wasn't looking after the earth, until the gods sort of brokered a deal where Persephone would be divided between Demetra and Hades half the time of the year for one, half the time of the year for the others. And that kind of explains the seasons, the warmer months, if you will. That's when Demetra has Persephone with her. Well, to the ancient Romans, she was called Ceres, and that is where the word cereal comes from today. And Ceres speaks to, on a practical level, grains and how it is that we harvest grains. And it also speaks to care and nourishment, how well we are nourishing ourselves, body, mind, and spirit. This moment may represent a time when there are breakthroughs in technologies that end up being quite controversial, especially related to the harvesting or agriculture of grains. Whether that is expressed widely, that is possible with this opportunity, that there may be some very bold shows of distrust of these new technologies where it comes to grains. That's one possibility here. But another possibility is a desire to get more people fed. How are we going to do that? What challenges do we need to surmount in order to ensure that everyone is well nourished? That can be part of the discussion, especially globally at this time. Sometimes we do see places in the world that have a very strong need for nourishment, for grains, for humanitarian aid. So that could show up at this time. On a more personal level, I do think a lot of us are going to be asking ourselves if we have the kind of life, if we have the kind of experience that represents being well nourished, body, mind, and soul, and asking ourselves what we need to feel genuinely well cared for. Now, the last square happens on Christmas Eve, December 24th at 11 degrees of their respective signs. And if you think back, right, last year, 2020, Christmas Eve had Mars squaring Pluto. So that was a really intense energy. And I remember saying at the time, self-care is primary. If you know that there are certain people that provoke you, that push your buttons, that irritate you, and especially at that time, people tend to gather with family, then it's okay to practice self-care, to figure out what you need so that you don't put yourself in positions where you end up feeling triggered or drained in some way. Well, look, that advice applies this year, absolutely. This square can be challenging, especially for it to take place at this time, because it does represent a sense of a need to be free, a need or a desire to rebel, to move beyond the structured ways of doing things. And this can represent real differences transpiring globally, yes, but also, of course, personally in our own lives with the people around us. A difference of understanding of the world, of ideologies, of what does freedom look like? What does equality look like? Who wants it? Who gets it? I would say, look, if you know that there are people who awaken your inner rebel in a way that doesn't necessarily feel good, who do trigger you and make you feel impulsive, especially in your families, it may be a good idea to consider how it is that you can practice self-care especially around Christmas Eve of 2021. However, just know that this energy can also represent our own desire for change, our own desire to create a life that honors our unique voice, our individuality, a life that acknowledges our unique path. And where it is that we're willing to ask ourselves the questions that ultimately can lend themselves to practical action steps, well, this energy can be a very powerful way to end a very powerful year. Where it is that we have felt limited, because it was in early 2020 that we had the conjunction of Pluto and Saturn, that can be a very restrictive energy. It was in March of 2020, at the very end of March, beginning of April, that we had the conjunction of Mars and Saturn. That also can represent a restrictive quality. It is now, as we begin the year, that there's a sense of hope and openness, not only to ourselves and our future possibilities, but also to each other. It is this year that we're going to be making sense and figuring out what this great conjunction is going to mean for us going forward from here. But also, if you think about last year, we did have energy of social change as well. How is it that we can now embody that more? How can we create a world where not only does it feel like more people have more equality and prosperity than ever before, but also that we ourselves are claiming a spirit of individuality and freedom and progress in our own lives. So a big reason for this is the ongoing squares that is going to characterize 2021 for a whole lot of us out there. This is perhaps the most dominant energy this year. It will be in mid-February, mid-June, and on Christmas Eve in December 2021 that these two planets will square off. It is Saturn that is currently in its sign of ancient rulership, Aquarius, and it is Uranus that is the modern ruling planet of Aquarius, currently in the sign of Taurus. Now, Taurus has to do with the resources. It's a very practical energy, and it has to do with changing our understanding about not only the resources available to us, but the resources we can generate. It has to do with money and economics. And it also speaks to where it is that we feel we are contributing to something in a diligent way that will help us to manifest something even better. Now, Uranus in this part of the sky has been inviting us since 2018 to rethink our relationship with money, to understand the economy in a larger sense differently, to look at resources. Uranus is the planet of equality. And so it speaks to a more fair or equal or humanitarian way of understanding resources and their availability. But Saturn is much more traditional, right? Whereas Uranus is all about breaking free from the past. It doesn't matter if it was done before or not. This is the way we're going now. It's about the new and the next and the exciting. It's all about the future. Saturn has a part of it that is highly scientific, right? That's the association with the energy of Aquarius. But it is also thought to be an energy that is quite traditional. It likes to keep things stable and secure, whereas Uranus focuses on ideas. It is Saturn that's more interested in what is actually being done, what is actually manifesting. And so we have had, certainly in the world, a spirit, a desire for social change. And I think this is partly because of Saturn in Aquarius. We do see important social movements arise, desires for equality arise when Saturn moves through the sign of Aquarius. But it is that square to Uranus that is going to make it feel urgent, make it feel like an imperative, and very likely is going to lend itself to very quick moments of expression to ultimately align with some sense of greater humanity or equality. Now, I would also add with this energy on a more personal note, I think a lot of us, especially, we're coming out of this year of the great pause, and there is a whole lot of hope that things can go back to normal eventually. But normal, of course, is going to be different. And that is because, in some ways, the world that we had created, we had to stop and look at it because there was a lot of the world that just wasn't working anymore on so many different layers. environmentally and otherwise. Well, it is going to be this year that we start to consider what a different world could look like on so many levels and in so many different ways, not just socially. And so this energy does tend to represent the rise of new technologies, new economies wanting to come forward, and resistance to that, especially to the established way of doing things. This can represent new technologies that are meant with controversy. And so they can be new technologies that maybe people aren't really sure what they feel about. Maybe there are ethical implications as well, practical implications. And so there can be some debate or mixed feelings around that. This energy of the square can also speak to energy itself. It is Uranus, that is named after uranium, and it represents and speaks to other forms, more modern forms of energy. Now, what is that going to mean to more established forms of energy as well? It was a while back, last year in 2020, I remember saying, watch what happens when Saturn moves to 0 degrees of Aquarius in March, because what's happening there, we will fully immerse in it once we get into 2023, 2024, 2025, as Pluto starts moving into Aquarius, stepping out of Aquarius, sort of back and forth. That is when the indications of the spring, the early spring in particular, of 2020, are going to take greater root. And one of the things that stood out to me most about what transpired then was that overnight, oil essentially became worthless. Now, if you remember, I told you in 2020 that at the beginning of the year, the conjunction of Saturn and Pluto represents a shift in human consciousness, a shift of power. It isn't like switching on a light bulb. It isn't instant, but this is where the foundation is set that ultimately changes our understanding of who has the power and who no longer has the power. And especially where it comes to understanding and acknowledging our personal power as well. Well, it is going to be this year that in some ways we're striving to make sense of it, but think back to what was happening back then. Early spring, oil became worthless. It became something where it was more expensive to just have it because nobody was buying it, nobody wanted it. And think about this, oil determines world power in many ways. Which nations are considered powerful are nations with the most oil. Well, what happens when oil is no longer worth anything? What happens to the power structures that are in place? Well, they either change, they either evolve, or dynamics shift in powerful ways. And the future economy is idea-oriented. It is going to be based on whom it is that has insights into new technologies or new understandings. Now, these new ideas, they can be very practical, like technology that meets a particular need, for example. But these idea-oriented examples, of course, can also be about making sense of the world, helping us to articulate the changes that are taking place. Now, I think this articulation of the changes is going to be especially important to this year, to 2021. And that's not only because of this ongoing square of Uranus and Saturn, but also because of the nodes. It is right into December that the nodes are going to continue to move through the Gemini-Sagittarius axis, where they moved into last year. And as they continue to move through these parts of the sky, this axis, on the one hand, there is this emphasis on what we are communicating, how we're communicating, yes, but the ideas coming forward. How are they being shared? What is the media paying attention to? How is independent media, social media being utilized as well? That's the North Node in Gemini, but the South Node is in Sagittarius. And Sagittarius is an energy that has to do with things like politics and ideologies, and it is your truth. The energy of Gemini is about the actual act of communicating, right? The processes involved in that. it is Sagittarius that asks us what it means, what's the deeper meaning, and where is it perhaps we're not just thinking about a thing, but our beliefs or the values that we hold are part of what is coloring how it is that we see certain things. The energy of Sagittarius has to do with my truth. Gemini, it's not so subjective. It's much more literal. And so we as a collective have been navigating this time where we're getting information, we're getting more insights, we're more connected than ever before. But this is awakening a desire within people, having to do with an awareness of what it is that they believe, what it is that they uniquely have to say, where it is that they are wanting change, societal change or political change, for example, legal changes, for example. And that energy certainly is going to continue into this year. In fact, I do think it is. Eclipse activations that do take place from mid-March to mid-April, that is a period of time to watch. Over the course of that 4-week period, we are going to have not only eclipse activations of the eclipses that took place late last year, right around November 30th, 2020 and December 14th, 2020. That was when we had eclipses in this Gemini Sagittarius axis. Well, Mars is going to move over those eclipse points, but is also going to move over the upcoming eclipse points as well, providing a very powerful foreshadowing. Now, Mars in and of itself is an energizing principle. It is embodied, it feels things viscerally, and it is an urgent energy. You add to this, of course, the energy of Uranus, and it just takes on that much more momentum, and the spontaneity and the urgent energy truly feels as if it becomes that much more all-encompassing. Well, it is going to be eclipse activations that do take place mid-March to mid-April, and they are going to highlight where it is that we've been, where it is that we're going. And this is also a period of time where I think there's going to be a lot happening on a level of societies with the people. We may see social uprisings and things like that take place, especially at that time frame. That is the one to watch out for. But it is going to be the eclipses that do come up in the middle of the year on May 26 and June 10 that are going to be foreshadowed by the events that take place mid-March to mid-April. So it becomes very important to watch what is happening in our individual journeys, in our individual lives especially, but also in terms of the collective. What are we talking about? What's being communicated to us? What are we feeling? But more than that, what are we believing? Because there are differences, of course, of perceptions. But where is it that we can recognize that certain truths are empirical, but certain truths may be more subjective? And where is it that certain subjective truths, we can honor the person, the heart, the spirit behind it, but also take other matters into considerations as well? Where it is that certain subjective truths are being asked to be looked at again more deeply, to understand where it is that perhaps an update or more love or more wisdom may be needed. Now, another interesting phenomenon I do want to mention, because this is actually, speaking of Mars, representing an important energy right out of the gate. It is going to be on the 3rd of January that Mars will leave shadow. And it will be on the 7th of January that Mars will change signs. Mars spent an unusually long time in the sign of Aries, about 7 months. Normally, about 7 weeks per sign per year. But this was different. This was an extended retrograde season. Well, as Mars shifts signs, so too will shift our focus. What it is that we feel is so urgent, where it is that we feel we need to give more energy. Now, this move of Mars going right into the very beginning of March is going to be very important to watch as well. So one of the reasons is on the 21st of March, well, that's when we are going to have what I call the most surprising day of the year. It may be shocking as well. Every 2 years or so, Uranus and Mars meet in the sky. So this is their somewhat rare meeting that does take place, and it tends to bring with it that much more urgency, spontaneity, surprise, breaking free from limitations of the past, realizing some truths about ourselves and the determination to live them. This is a call for freedom. And as I mentioned earlier, Uranus is in Taurus. This is an important activation of Taurian energy. It makes economic realities, economic empowerment that much more important and that much more a priority for more and more people out there. But it is also over the course of this period of time that Mars is navigating the sign of Taurus that we want to watch, because it is going to be late in the year that we are going to have, on the 19th of November, an eclipse. And this eclipse takes place in the sign of Taurus. Now, some call this an almost eclipse, and that's because the nodes haven't yet changed signs at this point. In December is when the nodes will change signs. The North Node will move into Taurus, the South Node into Scorpio. And I'll be here to talk about all of that every step of the way, of course. But I do feel like the move of Mars at the beginning of the year in many ways is meant to foreshadow what could be coming up for us once the nodes change signs. Because it is Mars here that's activating eclipse points, future eclipse points. So watch what's happening in your own life, but it is going to be that eclipse in Taurus that takes place. That is in many ways going to bring that much more focus on understanding what it is that we may think in our own lives is worth the money and what it is that may not be worth the money. Now let's talk more specifically about this year's eclipses, because we are going to have 4 of them. The first one that happens this year will be May 26th. It is a total lunar eclipse taking place in the sign of Sagittarius. And this eclipse will be speaking with Jupiter in a conversation of tension. Jupiter is the ruling planet of Sagittarius as well. And normally Sagittarian energy, Jupiter energy, is thought to be very expansive, very hopeful, very optimistic. The square suggests that either this is going to be a time when a whole lot of emotions and emotional overdoing it is very much on the surface, but it can also be either that we feel a more optimistic vision for ourselves or for the world is elusive. It can also represent overconfidence, maybe not necessarily seeing things very clearly in our own lives, or at least wondering if there is a sign. That's really how I see Jupiter squares. It's like looking at the sky and saying, give me a sign, let me know I'm on the right path. And I think there are going to be a lot of people who in at least one area of life are going to be asking for some type of sign, some type of clarity. But with squares, sometimes that clarity can be elusive. But squares encourage us to act. They encourage us to do the work that change sometimes requires. And this eclipse may bring the need for change up very quickly, whether that is change within politics, within law, or within our own lives as well, and our understanding of our own place in the world or as citizens of the world. It is going to be 2 weeks later, right around June 10th, that we are going to have a solar eclipse in the sign of Gemini. Now, this is only the second eclipse we get in Gemini out of this larger nodal transit. Most of the eclipses that have happened while the North Node has been moving through Gemini has been in the sign of Sagittarius. Last year, we got 2 eclipses in Sagittarius. This year, we get 2. But late last year, we just got that 1 lunar eclipse in Gemini. Now we get 1 solar eclipse in Gemini, and that's it. And that does suggest that a lot of the focus is not necessarily going to be just on what's being expressed or communicated, but is also going to be more focused on where belief plays into what is being communicated. So this particular solar eclipse is going to happen hand in hand in the sky with Mercury, which represents new ideas, new thoughts, new perceptions, new communications, new ideas, new expressions. I think I said ideas twice because, yeah, Mercury is ideas. And it is also going to be happening not too far away from Venus as well. So there's love there, there's heart there, there's desire. But we have a conversation of tension with Neptune happening under the sky, which does suggest either disappointment or disillusionment or uncertainty or sadness or tears. I'm so sorry to say, but it does happen. And so this may represent a moment where information comes that ultimately does bring new ways of seeing things, new ideas, new expressions, that does awaken love, but it comes about because of some event that has an element of sadness or disappointment to it. Again, I'm so sorry to say that's one way this energy could play out, but another way this energy could play out is that it has to do with acknowledging where it is that we've been disappointed in the past, and now coming up with new ideas and determination to move forward towards a stronger future. Now, as we navigate later into the year, the eclipse in the energy of Taurus that I mentioned earlier, well, that eclipse taking place on the 19th of November is going to be speaking in a conversation of tension in a square with Jupiter, but speaking in supreme harmony with Pluto. Now, I love that Plutonian energy because that ultimately is transformation. That is things changing, us finding our power, focus, positive focus that gets results is possible here, and change is possible here in a meaningful way. This is Taurian energy. I've been talking about Taurian energy because it's so active at the beginning of the year and with the squares we have throughout the year. But it is going to be this Taurian energy at this time that's going to ask us, what do we value? What do we really want to be doing? What do we not want to be doing? What's worth money? What isn't worth money? And it will also be that square of Jupiter that may also lend itself to questioning, to wanting to know that we're on the right path, wanting a sign that we're on the right path. And maybe, yes, some overdoing it or over-optimism. The last eclipse of the year takes place on December 4th. And this eclipse is happening hand in hand with Mercury again, but this is in the sign of Sagittarius. Remember, I told you earlier, June 10, eclipse hand in hand with Mercury. Here we go again, hand in hand with Mercury. So ideas, communication, media, social media, all of this very much a part of what is transpiring at this time. And this eclipse will also be speaking in harmony with Saturn. Now, I am so encouraged by that harmonious connection to Saturn, because it is that Saturnian connection that says things can change, and they can change in a way that brings structure and stability that lasts. There's an eye to the long-term future. And there may be some sense of progress that happens at this time that a lot of people feel good about. This can be practical changes on a level of politics and policy or law, some good news on the legal front that helps create a greater sense of stability in a lot of people. Now, another big energy this year, it has to do with Venus. And so we've got a Venus retrograde to end the year. I mean, look, we had Venus retrograde this spring in 2020. That was a doozy. We had all these squares of Neptune that characterized that. This is different. This is a different kind of Venus retrograde. Yes, a Venus retrograde is what it is. It brings loves from the past back. It invites us to contemplate more deeply. Do I love person, place, thing, situation? Where there's love there, we affirm it. Where there isn't love there, this is where we get more honest about that. And I think the fact that this is happening entirely in the sign of Capricorn is very important. I have been saying since last year, as so many of us were asked to participate in the Great Pause, asked to be still, it was like we were taken out of our roles, the established ways of doing things, to go off on our own. And those of us who were especially fortunate were able to continue to work in our own time and space. But I said at that time that I have a feeling that what's going to happen is that the world is going to open up again and people are going to find themselves back at their place of employment, back at their desks. And it's just either going to be a realization of how grateful they are to be back in their established roles or environment. So there'll be this newfound gratitude, or they're going to go back and it just won't feel right anymore. They have to be that much more honest with themselves. Remember, Saturn conjunct Pluto, if that's anything, that energy is honest, starkly honest, painfully honest. And it is going to be this very energy of this Venus retrograde season that in many ways is going to invite us to consider our role in a larger sense, our ambition, the things that we hope to achieve, the things that we think are ultimately lending themselves to a legacy and a destiny that we can feel good about in our own lives, but also for each other. And is there love here? Do I love it? Do I love person, place, thing, situation? And yes, that's going to play out romantically for a lot of people out there. Old loves may come or go. Breakups happen, tend to not stay broken up, especially when they happen during a Venus retrograde season. It is going to be in the middle of November that Venus will go into shadow. It will be the 19th of December that Venus will go retrograde, and we are going to move into 2022 under the light of a retrograde Venus. Now, when a planet is retrograde, it appears from our eyes like it's an optical illusion that it's going backwards, but it's also especially close to the Earth, closer to the Earth than it may otherwise be, especially when that planet is changing directions. So we definitely want to watch what is happening for the collective right around the middle of December. But once we get into that retrograde, this is Venus re-walking the path that she was on during the shadow period. And she will enter 2022 still retrograde and on that same path. As much as I would like to say brand new year, 2022, a fresh start, sure, but with Venus retrograde, it looks like there may still be some wrapping up of loose ends that needs to happen as we end this year and begin a brand new one in 2022. Now, of course, this is Venus in Capricorn. So yes, structures, ambition, as I said, but it's also going to speak to our own desires for success that is meaningful to us. What's worth doing for success? What isn't? Where is there love? Where is there not? What I love about this year for us, well, look, we are stepping into brand new energy right out of the gate. Even before the year begins, the fact that the Great Conjunction happens on the winter solstice, well, it tells me in many ways a lot of us are already feeling that a new day has come. But it is going to be in January where we will feel that things are different very quickly in some cases. As Mars finally changes signs, I think a lot of us don't realize how much energy we've been pouring in a particular direction until all of a sudden one area of life eases up or lightens up. The lessons of the Mars retrograde season will stay with us well after this time is over. But very quickly, we navigate into brand new energy. As Mars starts moving through the sign of Taurus, he's going to square Jupiter, square Saturn, and meet Uranus in the sky. And what that suggests is that in many ways, all of us are trying to figure out how to use our own agency, trying to figure out what our power is and how it is that we can align that with something that feels more hopeful or inspired or even free. Where is it that we can be more of our truest, most authentic selves in more areas of life, especially where it comes to our finances? That is going to be part of the focus. But most of all, it is that meeting of Uranus and of Mars. Those two planets meeting is a wake-up call for all of us in at least one area of life, that's for sure. But this is a very quick realization that either leaps us into the future and a whole new, brave, bold future at that, where we feel that much more empowered in all kinds of ways. Or this can be a surprise. This could be a shock that may take us a moment to integrate. But thankfully, and this is one of those moments where there is some thankfully, those squares, those Saturn-Uranus squares, They are all about ensuring that the work or the sacrifice or the insights, the spiritual work, the losses that a lot of us have experienced in 2020, that all of it helps us to be better going forward from here, helps us to be better in our own lives and for ourselves, but also for each other. And in many ways, I do feel like 2021 may work out to be even more important than 2020. And the reason I say that is because 2020 had the big events. 2021, yes, big events are still there, but it's more about how we're integrating the energies, how we're understanding them, and how it is that now we have a genuine desire as a collective for practical change that improves lives in tangible ways for ourselves and for each other. Well, thank you so much for watching, and Happy New Year to everybody out there. What are you most excited about this coming year of 2021? Let me know in the comments below. I love reading you guys. And remember, preview horoscopes coming up right now. You can get instant access to all the special horoscopes that are active right now. So all the current special horoscopes for each and every sign, all of that is available in the Superstar space. Link in the description below, or go to NadiaShawSuperstars.com. Here come the preview horoscopes. If you want to download the full video, of course, you can navigate to my website, NadiaShaw.com, and download individual videos that you prefer. Thank you so much. Thank you for seeing me as some part of your sacred journey. And remember, I've talked a lot more about this year in the Decade Ahead special horoscope, in the Jupiter special horoscope, in the Saturn special horoscope, and I will link to them in the description below. And again, thank you for your trust. It'll be a great year. Enjoy. Hello, fabulous superstar Aries. Welcome to your year ahead horoscope, looking at 2021 and a few major themes for you. I am your astrologer, Nadia Shaw. Thank you for being here. It is a remarkable astrological year. If you remember last year, it really was all about your ruling planet Mars moving through your sign. That was about tapping into your truth, your power. Well, it is going to be, as we enter a new year, that you get a chance to now begin to move forward with that truth and that understanding that you've connected to within, and start to apply it to different areas of your life. You add to this the fact that your ruling planet in January is going to be connecting with Uranus, a once every 2-year event. And it looks like you are on the verge of an epiphany that could change so much for you. And so it is right around the 3rd of January that Mars will leave shadow. And this is Mars now traveling over brand new ground. And it is going to be right around the 7th of January that Mars will leave your sign. And as Mars leaves your sign, very quickly, you may feel a little bit more relaxed. It's like you take an exhale. A part of you might have not even realized how... Hello, fabulous superstar Taurus. Welcome to your horoscope for the year of 2021. I am your astrologer, Nadia Shaw. Thank you for being here. What a remarkable astrological year it is. You are going to reach an important crescendo moment right out of the gate as we begin a new year as part of the larger move of Uranus through your sign. And even though there's a whole lot of energy, a push, if you will, as you begin the year, and energy that is shocking, that is surprising, that is uncertain, the year does end on a more contemplative tone as you start to consider who you are and your place in the world, and also how that fits into matters of love. Well, all of that is going to come into focus. So let's talk about the energy that you are bringing into 2021. It was last year that Mars spent most of the year in the sign just before yours. And this is about clearing space, closing karmic ties, ending karmic chapters, but also creating space for the new and the next to find you. And if you think back even earlier, it was in Hello, fabulous superstar Gemini. Welcome to your horoscope for the year of 2021. I am your astrologer, Nadia Shaw. Thank you for being here. It is a remarkable astrological year, without a doubt. There are important events taking place, celestially speaking, for you. If you think back to last year, it was right around the middle of the year that the nodes changed signs, with the North Node moving into your sign, the South Node in your opposite sign. Well, it is going to be this year that we have not only a continuation of eclipses, but we've also got important eclipse activations taking place, which tells me that you will still be making sense of the eclipses that took place late 2020. But it is now, as we move forward, and much like last year, you had 2 eclipses in your opposite sign, 1 in your sign. This time, we are continuing the same theme. Mid-year in June, there will be a solar eclipse in your sign. This is a chance for you to begin again. This is a bright and bold new chapter, a new beginning. But in some ways, you truly can feel it coming. It is in the months leading up to it, as you move through the spring, that you can feel an important shift being right around the corner. And this year will feature 2 eclipses in your opposite sign, which tells me it isn't just about you. It's also about what's happening with another person that is informing. Hello, fabulous superstar Cancer. Welcome to your horoscope for the year of 2021. I am your astrologer, Nadia Shah. Thank you for being here. It is a remarkable astrological year. As we begin the year, we are going to have some twists and turns and surprises where it comes to your alignment with other people. But as you continue to navigate this time, chances are you will come to a depth of understanding about self as inner parts of your truest motivations become more illuminated to you. An important moment is going to happen as we approach the end of the year and going into next year as well. And that is Venus going retrograde in your opposite sign, bringing with it a depth of understanding as to your connections with other people. So let's talk about some of the energy that is playing out right out of the gate as we begin a new year. Of course, the larger Mars retrograde season is starting to come to an end. It will be on the 3rd of January that Mars will leave shadow. And then on the 7th, will change signs. Now, it has been this slow-moving Mars that ultimately has invited you to consider the legacy that you are creating and what goals are worth giving your all to. As part of this, and given that this was in fellow cardinal sign Aries, well, this energy can be downright tiring. It can feel like there's more to do, more to push, more to gain. And that can be exhausting. So just the fact that Mars will leave the very top of your sky, I think it is going to feel like an... Hello, fabulous superstar Leo. Welcome to your year ahead special horoscope looking at 2021 in life and love. I am your astrologer, Nadia Shah. Thank you for being here. It is a remarkable astrological year, without a doubt. There are big moves happening, and a lot of them are happening right out of the gate with the very top of your sky illuminated early in the year and then late in the year. In some ways, you'll be going back over old ground, understanding where you've been differently, but also looking ahead and looking upwards. So it is, as we begin this new year, on the 3rd of the month is when Mars will leave shadow, ending an extended retrograde season that we've been in since the summer of 2020. It will be on January 7th that Mars will then move into the very top of your sky. This is a part of the sky that has to do with career, social standing, life purpose. It has to do with understanding the legacy that you are creating, and very quickly you are going to gain some very powerful insights and, for some, dramatic leaps and change. And that takes place right around the 21st of January. Hello, fabulous superstar Virgo. Welcome to your horoscope for the year of 2021. I am your astrologer, Nadia Shah. Thank you for being here. It is a remarkable astrological year. We are going to continue to have eclipses in key parts of your sky, the very top, but mainly the very bottom. And when we have important activity in these parts of the sky, well, it does have a certain sweeping effect as your understanding of your legacy and of your home changes, in some cases dramatically so. A peak moment is going to come as we navigate just past the middle of the year with Mars in your sign, and it is going to be towards the end of the year that Venus will go retrograde, bringing with it important lessons of desire and love, especially for you. So let's take it one at a time, because as we begin the year, we are wrapping up the larger Mars retrograde season. If you think back last year, we had a good amount of time, half of the year, just over half of the year spent with Mars, moving through a part of the sky for you that it was decidedly consequential, that felt heavy, that felt transformative, yes, but could also ask you to ask questions of yourself that sometimes are difficult. Well, it will be a week into the new year that Mars will leave this part of the sky and move into a... Hello, fabulous superstar Libra. Welcome to your horoscope for the year of 2021. I am your astrologer, Nadia Shah. Thank you for being here. It is a remarkable astrological year, without a doubt. Continued eclipses taking place in parts of the sky for you that have to do with expression and truth, and connecting to your truth more deeply help redefine your place in the world in important ways. We are going to begin the year with some rather intense energies and a reveal of secrets that ultimately ends up transforming you in meaningful ways. And as we move towards the end of the year, we're not only going to have the beginnings of a series of eclipses in this very intense and transformative part of the sky, but we're also going to have Venus retrograde. Your ruling planet is set to go retro, making its moves that much more important for you, making love of the past show up for you in sometimes surprising and unexpected ways, and making you consider whom it is you are as you examine where you've been differently than before. So let's start with what's happening right out of the gate. As we begin this year, well, it's Mars, right? We've had Mars spending an extended amount of time in your opposite sign. Yes, that has brought focus and energy towards another person. That in and of... Hello, fabulous superstar Scorpio. Welcome to your horoscope for the year of 2021. I am your astrologer, Nadia Shah. Thank you for being here. It is a remarkable astrological year, without a doubt. Now, it is going to be an active year. Key parts of your sky are being activated in important ways. But I do think that one of the most important things to take place for you is likely going to begin at the end of this year and into next. And that is the changing of the nodes. Late this year, we are going to have the South Node enter your sign and the North Node entering your opposite sign. This means a few things. One is, once we navigate into next year, eclipses are going to start happening for you. And that brings with it a shift in identity. But that journey starts now. And in many ways, I feel like this year is setting you up for those big breakthroughs that are characteristic of the year to come. So it is this year where I do feel you are going to start to get more clear about your alliances with other people, professional alliances, business partnerships, but also romantic as well. Now, I'll talk about love a little bit later. And you are also being invited to consider more deeply what prosperity means to you, what wealth means to you. And ultimately, it is the answers to these questions, and of course, all that energy taking place at the foundation of your chart that I... Hello, fabulous superstar Sagittarius. Welcome to your horoscope for the year of 2021. I am your astrologer, Nadia Shah. Thank you for being here. It is a remarkable and powerful astrological year, especially for you. The series of eclipses that started for you in 2020 are going to continue into 2021 as you host the South Node in your sign for most of this year. In fact, it will be in December that you will have the last eclipse in your sign before the nodes change signs. And so in many ways, this year will have a sense of progress and karma and transformation and change, and you aligning yourself, your identity, what matters to you most, what matters to you first, differently than you have before. It was late last year that you had a solar eclipse in your sign on December 14th. And in many ways, as you entered this year, you are continuing to make sense of that event. But the full understanding of what that solar eclipse is meant to be for you, the progress that is yet to be made on that, well, that is going to come as you navigate into the spring. Hello, fabulous superstar Capricorn. Welcome to your horoscope for the year of 2021. I am your astrologer, Nadia Shah. Thank you for being here. It is a remarkable astrological year, without a doubt. Now, there's a whole lot happening in the sky, including right out of the gate, a shift of energy thanks to Mars changing signs. But I want to actually start for you at the end, because it is at the end of the year that the most notable celestial event for you is going to take place. And this is Venus retrograde in your sign. In many ways, when you think back at 2021, it's going to be intimately connected with 2022 because we are going to end this year on Venus retrograde in your sign. And Venus won't go direct until we move into 2022. And what that says is you are looking more deeply at yourself. You're taking all the events of this year and you are synthesizing it, and you are coming to an understanding that it has to connect to heart. Do I love? Person, place, thing, situation. That is going to be the guiding question. And it is, as you synthesize the events of this year and you take them in to your heart, that you will find your answers. They're not always what it seems on the surface, but they are profound. And of course, this is Venus, goddess of love. Love is going to be a very important focus for you, especially as we move towards the end of the year. But hello, fabulous superstar Aquarius. Welcome to your horoscope for the year of 2021. I am your astrologer, Nadia Shah. Thank you for being here. It is a remarkable astrological year for you. Now, of course, it is a big, important year. You've got Saturn in your sign. You've got Jupiter in your sign. Both of those planets and those cycles have their own special horoscope. So I would invite you to look at that. But for this video, I want to focus on some of the other things that are going to matter this year. And as we step into a new year, it is going to be on the 13th of January, so very soon out of the gate, that your ruling planet Uranus will stand still in the sky and move forward. And I do feel like this is an important turning point for you. This is going to be a moment of epiphany and of realization, and it may very well be deeply connected to your understanding of your past, but also your understanding of what you need to be at peace with yourself, to feel a sense of emotional equilibrium within. It is the part of the sky that Uranus is slowly moving through that is awakening a desire to find home that you define for yourself, and changes on the home front, literal, but also within, the home within, has been highlighted. And so as Uranus moves forward, hello, fabulous superstar Pisces. Welcome to your horoscope for the year of 2021. I am your astrologer, Nadia Shah. Thank you for being here. It is a remarkable astrological year. Now, one of the really big things to take place is going to be a week into this brand new year, and that is Mars leaving a financial part of your sky. I feel like this is going to represent an exhale. Right away, you will notice finances calm right down. Some of the lessons you've learned with this Mars retrograde season that we've been in since the summer of 2020, well, chances are they will stay with you as you move forward from here, realizing something about yourself and how it is that you are able to understand prosperity differently. Moving forward from here, well, that is part of what truly stays with you. But Mars is going to change signs, move into a brand new part of the sky. And this is a part of the sky that has to do with communication, expression. It has to do with synchronicity, being in the right place at the right time, and it makes all the difference. And this part of the sky also speaks to your relationship with siblings, cousins, and neighbors, those you consider your peers.